Hey, welcome everybody. I'm here with talented actress Sarah Grace Sanders. She was a part of one of my films that I did a while back called Flat Brim, and she played one of my love interests in that show. And then she was just on Cobra Kai, which is an awesome show that I've been watching, and it was really inspiring to see her up there. So thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks so much for having me.
So, Sarah, I'd love to talk about kind of how you got into acting. What was your kind of start in the industry, and what really motivated you to pursue a career in the arts?
Yeah, so I, grew up always, singing, dancing, playing dress up, watching like old movies. I was really into Judy Garland. And I would like recreate the scenes with like my home video camera. So like always had that kind of acting bug. And then but no one in my family did it, so they really didn't know how to nurture that. I took dance classes, but I was also like really smart. I was valedictorian, so it was like
Oh
I
my
didn't know
goodness,
I
valedictorian!
didn't know what
Wow.
it's like, do I go to school and like go into business? So I ended up going to UVA. I wanted that college experience and I studied economics, but I moved to New York after college and it just, wasn't, I wasn't happy and I didn't want to go that business route. So I, jumped into acting classes. I kind of just had to find my way in New York on my own at 22 years old, knowing absolutely nothing. So I just kind of I met, some friends and actors in my classes and I just kind of networked from there. And I, would apply and audition for anything I could and I said yes to everything. So I did so many off Broadway plays and short films and just getting the experience because that's what you need, to get started in this industry is you need experience and you need to be auditioning because that's the majority of the job. And so I just did that for a while. And then, things just started clicking. You have good training, you're training with good teachers, you're collaborating with your friends. You're promoting yourself, you're doing plays and theater. So it just kind of snowballed from there. And it did take a while, like I'd say 10 years.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely takes a while. Now, I remember when I first started and I graduated from college and I was doing a lot of like those off Broadway plays, independent films. And
Right.
this is
Right.
at a different time when they didn't have like all the technology they have now. This was like in the mid 2000s. Did
Yeah.
you, I reached a point during that kind of trajectory in my career that I was like, I felt like I was being let down a lot in terms of being a part of productions that really didn't go
Right.
anywhere, putting my faith into directors and writers that not necessarily were the most talented or didn't have their
Yeah.
kind of their eye on the ball. I mean, did you have that experience or did you kind of meet a lot of
Yeah,
great
I
people?
did. It's like when you're first starting out, you just want experience. So you're just happy to be on set and doing that. But then it got to the point where I started to say no. Like I said yes a lot. And then it gets to the point where you're at that next level and you're like, okay, I don't need to do this student film that's not going to go anywhere and I'm not getting paid and it's my time because your time becomes very valuable. And then, there was a couple films that I was so proud of. I worked so hard and they were really difficult characters. It's always like I feel like I do my best emotional work or like I play like I think I played a woman with borderline personality disorder. And then in another film I played like a very crazy revengeful woman and it was like really fun and like the footage was great. Like I saw the footage, I saw everything, but the writer director never put it anywhere. Like it just, I don't know where, like it's just sitting there. And I'm so like, that's what crushes me. Cause I'm like, I'm so proud of this work and I want people to see it. And like, that's happened to me 3 times now where I, invest all this time. And then the project just goes nowhere. So you really like, I've learned just to just let go and not you know, just let everything happen the way it's supposed to happen because you can't control anything. Nothing. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned playing these kind of like outlandish characters, like people with
Yeah.
personality disorders and revengeful women. Now, just by kind of your type, I wouldn't necessarily associate with you with those types of characters. You seem more of like kind of like the girl next door,
Right.
maybe like the soccer mom or something at this point. But
Right.
what, are you drawn to more of like, darker characters or complicated
Yeah.
characters like that?
Yeah. I think like you're so right. I am like I get put out for the soccer mom and the girl next door a lot, especially commercials. Like that's what I go in for a lot. But I am drawn to like these darker characters. Like everything, all the movies that I really like are like really dark and like twisted. Like I love psychological thrillers.
Like, what are
And all
some
of
of your
that.
favorites, if you don't mind?
So like, I loved Seven and I loved what's that movie? I just watched the Brittany Murphy documentary, but like all of her roles were so good. Like that movie with Angelina Jolie when they're all in a mental hospital.
Girl Interrupted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that I loved. Any of the M.
Black
Night Shyamalan.
Swan. Black
Yeah,
Swan.
Black Swan, love that movie. Yeah, so all of that. And it's just like I played Harley Quinn in that Batman fan film. So just like playing, it's just fun to play someone that's not you, or like you get to go to the extremes of things that's not like I could never act like that in real life, but it's fun to kind of play around with that. And just kind of the whole reason I love acting is because you're just escaping reality and you get to play in these different worlds. And so yeah, I like roles like that. And they're different. Like sometimes I don't want to do those. Sometimes it's like too much. It's a lot emotionally when you're immersed in that. And I don't know how I started going out for them. I think I just did. And then, I booked one, got some really good, like crazy footage. And then I was able to use that to show people. And they're like, okay, this girl who looks like a soccer mom can play like the soccer mom who's going to murder you.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, there's definitely a market for that, I would
Yeah.
imagine, and that sounds like an interesting concept for a film for sure. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. Um,
Yeah.
well, let's kind of break down the process for you creatively. What, like, when it comes in, the audition comes in, how do you take the audition process, and then hopefully if you get the part, like what's your process when you actually book the role?
Yeah. So I get the audition, I immediately read the script. If I have the full script, I'll try and read that. If not, you just have the sides and that's all you have to go from. Sometimes if I'm really interested in knowing some more information, I'll go on to like Actors Access. And if I can see other people's roles, I'll go read their sides too. Cause I feel like that'll give me a bigger picture, of
Oh,
the
wow.
project. Yeah, I
So you
start
do your
there.
homework. You do your
I
homework.
do. I like doing my homework. I research the director. Um, like I auditioned for that movie Ma by Bloomhouse. It ended up going to like an A-list actor, so I can't, I never had a chance. But I looked him up. I look up the production company. I see what they're working on. I see like who's listed as the producers and whatnot to see who's going to be watching or who would have been in the room. So I do that homework, and then just to see if like we have anything in common, so I could put a little note like, oh, I just saw this film you did. I loved it, like so good. And then I get to work on the character. So if I have, some of these are like quick turnaround, 24 hours, you don't have a lot of time. I make a couple choices that I think fit the character. And then if I have a little more time, I like to kind of like marinate in the character and just kind of like meditate, just like, lay down and like think about what they would do in their life. Because that's
Wow.
the whole thing,
Wow.
is you're embodying, you want to be truthful in how you're acting. You're embodying this whole fully fledged person that's not you. So it's like you have to figure out who they are. So like I like to go for a walk, and just reading the script a lot, different ways. Will kind of help give you some clues too. And then, once you get the role, that's when like the real work begins. Like when I did Harley Quinn, I got the role and then I immediately like watched all of the old Harley Quinn cartoons. researched about being in a relationship with someone who has a narcissistic personality disorder, like just doing a lot of research so that you have a lot to like pull from.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Most people include, yeah, I don't know if I go into that extent when I get an audition. It's
Yeah.
more about just kind of memorizing the lines and making sure it's
Yeah.
truthful and natural. I do a little bit of research, but
Yeah.
I don't take it to that
I guess
extent.
it also depends on how much time you have, because sometimes you don't get that much time.
No, if
So
it's a TV show, you only get like a day,
yeah.
maybe two at the most.
Yeah,
So
like when I got the audition for Cobra Kai, I got it at maybe like 9 in the morning and I taped it like 3 hours later. So I literally had 3 hours. Granted, it was 5 lines, so that's easy to memorize for me. And then it's just like, I didn't really watch the show or anything or do research before the audition, but I was like, okay, she's a single mom on a date with an attractive guy. Like, what is she? She's going to be hopeful that this date's going to work out. She's going to be like really friendly and bubbly. How are you on a first date? You like think about that. And then it's like she wants it to work out so bad, so bad, so bad. And then she gets to the point where he like, sucker punches the kid and then her face falls. Like, you're trying to think about what the audience is going to see too. Like, what are the producers going for in this scene? So that was like easy.
yeah, I mean, that was pretty typical. That was kind of like
Yeah.
playing more to your type, I would
Yeah.
imagine. And it
Yeah. It was
wasn't,
like so very simple. I was like super relaxed. I knew what I was doing. Like I knew what they wanted. I like had this vision of like what they wanted. And then that's what it was.
now, since you brought up Cobra Kai, I'm a big fan of the show. I saw that.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool to see you on there, and I loved your
Yeah.
scene. It was great. But can you, like, what was that experience like? I mean, being on a big Netflix show like that, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, it was really fun. They are like an amazing crew and cast down there in Atlanta. It was so like relaxed. And, I'm used to like the New York sets that can be like a little gritty and everyone's in a bad mood because it's cold and everyone's tired. But like everyone down there was so nice. We just kind of like hung out for a lot of the day because my scene didn't end up shooting till like 7 at night. And, back then it wasn't on Netflix yet. So it was on YouTube Red. So people knew of it, but it wasn't super popular. So I think it would be different than going down there today and have it be like this huge Netflix thing. Like I think it was actually better that it wasn't because there wasn't so much pressure. Like I knew people would see it. Like, it's like you want to do a good job because, it's this big show and people are going to see it. But I think I would have been more nervous had it been a huge Netflix thing. So that was kind of nice, like getting in early.
So that's part of like being an actor, is like just keeping those nerves in check, like
Yeah.
both in the audition process and then when you get on set, because it's not just you and the other actor talking. You have all these other
Right.
people around you, and you have to get comfortable just doing your lines and being natural and organic in that environment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it was a little nerve-wracking. We're in this, it wasn't a real restaurant, they had built it into the soundstage. So it was a set and it's like me and Johnny at a table, but then it's like you have all the background actors and then, the director and the producers are right there. And then people are watching the monitor in Video Village. So it's like you do feel all of these eyes on you. So you kind of have to like get yourself out of Sarah, the actor, and like put yourself into Veronica, the woman on a date, and like tune everything out.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's a skill, and that takes experience, and it takes a lot of just getting used to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, being on Cobra Kai, I mean, that really kind of tapped you into that whole universe. I've been following you on social media, obviously, and I see that, you're still doing promotions for that. I mean, do people recognize you just from Cobra Kai? I mean, like, do you feel like you're getting a lot of like fandom and like being in that kind of universe of that world? Like, has that changed your career?
Yeah, I mean, not so much because I had like such a small part But like I've been on a lot of podcasts for people who do Cobra Kai. You know, they'll like, it's really fun. Like they're really sweet, all the fans. It's like a huge, you know, little fan community, and it's amazing. It's like so fun to be a part of that. And it's like, oh wow, thank you for like including me, because I have this like really small part. But yeah, it's really fun to see. And like the fans are the ones who, you know, took the show to #1 on Netflix when it was on. So it's really cool to see that it really resonated with a lot of people and people are really enjoying it. So it's really, you know, I'm very grateful to have a small part in it. And of course, like all my friends, you know, will text me when they see it. You know, people will recognize me who know me and watch the show. They're like, I didn't know you were in Cobra Kai. And then I'll tell people that I'm meeting, you know, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I know that show. So that's kind of fun.
That's great. And
Yeah.
I know you do a lot of commercial work as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that process as opposed to like working for a network television show or a film? Is it different?
Right.
And what's the acting style? How are they different?
Yeah, so commercials, you know, I've done so many, so you get to really see the process, and it's completely different. It's really fast paced, and they're selling a product. So even though you feel like you are the star of this commercial, you're not. You are the star of the commercial is the product. So you are there to sell this product for people, to make it look good. You know, it's like the everyday best version of yourself. You know, what gets you there? Is it like this certain soap that you're using? Is it what you're eating? Is it a Peloton bike? So I always kind of think of, okay, like what are we selling and how can I like, you know, make this normal, like make it like it's not a cheesy commercial. And you're always, it's like very fast paced and it's all about the product. So when you're on set, it's like you have to make sure, like one of the last commercials I did before COVID was for Sun-Made raisins. And I had to make sure that I grab, like I'm getting my kids ready for school and my back's to the camera and I'm turning around with a basket full of like raisin snacks. And the biggest concern was like making sure I turned the right amount so that the camera could see the raisin snacks. So it's like, you don't even have to, I just act normally. Like I'm a mom now. I know how moms act. There's not a lot of like, you know, research and process that you really have to go through. It's like, okay, getting my kids ready for school, here's a snack. And just like thinking logically what you would do.
Yeah, and what you mentioned before in terms of how you prepare for like television or films, especially if it's a dark character, it seems like it's a different process. It's more about like you said, promoting the product. Now, just to go back for a second in terms of your process for creativity for those other types of projects like film and TV, would you consider yourself more of a method actor? And like, did you learn that way of acting, or are you more Meisner trained, or is it kind of like your own way of doing it?
How I was trained, because I studied with like two of like the very well-known teachers in New York. One of them passed, but he was Win Handman, yeah.
Handman, yeah.
Yeah, so he was Meisner's right-hand man, his assistant for many years, and then he took over Meisner's studio. So that he was trained he was Meisner. And then I had Anthony Abison, who studied with Strasberg, Stella, and Grokowski, I think. And then I've also worked with people in theater who studied under Strasberg. So mine, it's like a mix of Meisner and Strasberg. But what everyone always said was, you know, do what works in that scene for that character. So if method's going to work for this particular part or this role, then try method. If Meisner is going to work for this particular, you know, role and character, it's like just figuring out what's going to work for you, because method that can get emotionally draining and you want to escape from that a little bit. But sometimes when I am doing, if it's like a day or two and it was a really dark character or shoot, you know, I would put myself in like a dark place and try, and then make sure you like do some self-care afterwards so you can come out of it. But yeah, it just kind of depends. I've always kind of just like piecemealed all of these different techniques to kind of figure out what works for me the best.
That's interesting. When I took Meisner classes, and my teacher actually, she just passed, unfortunately, but
Oh
I
no.
took it in New York, and the kind of her mentality, which was great, and I learned a tremendous amount from her. But it was like, you know, Meisner is the holy grail. There are no other ways besides
Yeah.
Meisner. Is that how Wynn taught his class, or was he open to other
Oh,
suggestions?
he was very like he loved Meisner, but he was always very open to, you know, you just kind of find what fills you up as that character and then go with it. And there was a process, like we always did character interviews with him. So we'd come out as our character and he'd interview us as that person. And that I always really loved to do that. You know, you write down some questions that you want him to ask you in your character, and then you answer them as that character. And I always found that very helpful. And I think that's like a good thing to keep doing, you know, when you work on characters so that you can get into their head a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, I heard his podcast that he did with Alec Baldwin. It must have been right
Yeah.
before he passed. And he
Yeah.
seemed like a very nice, gentle guy. And he was
So
talking
sweet.
he was
Yeah.
talking about Meisner, and it seemed like Meisner had a kind of a mean streak to him. And it seemed like
Yeah.
Wynn, in the way that Wynn ran his class, was more kind of gentle and comforting, as opposed to
Yeah.
Meisner, who could really be like go off the rails at some points.
Yeah. You never felt that from him. You like, he would tell you to stop immediately if he didn't feel what you were doing was truthful or he wasn't into it. Like he'd immediately say like, no, stop. But it was never like mean, and he would guide you, he would work with you and guide you back to a place where it would work for you and help you get there. So he was such a sweet man. Yeah, I was really lucky to be in his classes when I was.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anyone that looking to get into the industry, whether it's a young person or someone a little older trying to become an actor, in terms of like things that you've learned throughout the years and any best practices you can share?
Yeah, sure. The biggest thing for me was always just like train, you know, be in a class. I took classes for years. You know, I only took a break when COVID hit and I was pregnant and I had the baby, because now I have like not as much time on my hands. But if I didn't have her, I would be in class right now. And hopefully, like when she goes to school and she's gone for longer periods during the day, I'll definitely get back into a class, because I feel like it's like a gym, you know, you need to constantly be working out, training, reading sides. Because I do feel a little rusty right now. I haven't, like, I did just book a couple parts, but like, I miss kind of being in class with other people. So train, get into a really good class. The other thing is just be really kind and giving in this industry, because it is an industry where a lot of people will take, and you don't want to be that person. And be on guard. There's a lot of people who want to take money from you who aren't truthful about what they're doing. So, you know, always get a second opinion, go to forums, you know, join like community groups where you can ask for feedback or ask advice. Like, hey, has anyone studied with this teacher? What do you think? Because there are a couple teachers out there, especially in New York, who like prey on new people in the industry. And you just want to make sure you're not getting scammed. You're not wasting your money. And then, yeah, just be a good person, professional, nice, because it's a small world. And like you and I met what,
8 years ago?
2009, 2000,
No,
yeah, a long
no,
time.
13. We filmed at the end of 13.
Like you will run into the same people over and over. So you never want to burn any bridges, you know, by like not showing up. You know, just do the work. If you want to make this happen, you just have to do the work. Yeah, I think that's it.
That's great advice. Now, you mentioned you became a mom. I'm following you on social media. It seems like
Yeah.
it had such a great impact on your life. Can you share a little bit about that and how it's not only changed your personal life, but also your creative outlook?
Yeah, definitely. So I was the type of person for the longest time, I didn't think I wanted to have kids. I was so focused on my career. You know, I was like, I don't want to take time off. Like, I want to keep acting. Like, if I have a baby, I can't do this. Like, and then COVID hit and I was unexpectedly pregnant. So I was like, well, we're just going to go with this. And it was actually like really good timing. I got to kind of relax and step back from everything. I didn't have to, network and put myself out there. And I just like took a break from acting. Like I was like, nothing's happening for a while. So I'm just going to like enjoy this pregnancy. And then having her has been so fun. Like she's so cute. She's so sweet. And she is like, it definitely does change you. I remember I was working in Wynn's class. I was working on a doll's house. And I remember one of the guys in the class came up to me because we would like give feedback to each other. And he's like, I loved your work, but I just want to let you know, like, you don't have kids. So you're not getting the depth that you should. Like, because you're not a mom, you're not going to fully reach the depth of this character. And at first I was like mad because I was like, no, I'm a good actor. Like I'm doing this. But now that I'm a mom, I totally get what he was talking about. Because until you have like that child, you will never know what it's like to like choose to walk away from them, like Nora does in A Doll's House. And I was like, oh my God, I totally agree with what he's saying. And she like definitely, and people will always say, it's going to enrich your acting abilities. You're going to have so much more depth. And I definitely feel like that because I can like cry at the drop of a hat now. Like I have so much more emotional memory and like depth. And I just have to think about, something happening to her and I can like, the tears will come. So it's kind of fun to like, you have this whole thing and like even playing moms, like I've been playing moms for almost 10 years. But now you kind of just get it a little bit more. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that reminds me of the story with Steven Spielberg and Close Encounters. And at the end of that movie, Richard Dreyfuss leaves his family to go on the spaceship. But after Steven Spielberg had a family, he said he would have changed the ending because to make that step to leave your family is so profound, and he didn't understand that before he had kids when he made the film.
Yeah.
But afterwards, he did.
Yeah, it's like it changes you. It definitely does. But like, no, if you don't want to have kids, no big deal. Like, it's just something that shifted for me. Yeah.
Cool. So what's next, Sarah Grace? What's next?
Well, I'm doing a short film this Sunday, which is really, it's a dark short film. So I'm getting ready. Luckily, my character isn't, I have a pretty like easy part. And my friend is playing the main character. So it's kind of fun. I get to work with one of my classmates and friends. So that's Sunday. And then in January, I got the lead role in, originally it was going to be a feature film and now it's going to be like a TV series. So it's going to be like, I think he wants to do 6 episodes to start, and it's about a couple and they meet on New Year's Eve in 1999. And then it kind of follows them every decade for 3 decades. So 2000, 2010, and then 2020, I believe. So that'll be fun because I get to play, I think I play a 27-year-old version of myself, 37, and then 47.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So that'll be like a couple weeks in January. And then just seeing what else. Yeah. Wherever the industry takes me.
Now, is that project is that like independent? Are they trying to pitch it to networks?
Yeah. So it's independent. So he wants to try and pitch it to networks and see where it lands.
Very cool.
Yeah. Actually, Joe Yulo's one of the producers on it.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. How'd you get that? Just through Actors Access?
No, actually, I had auditioned. This writer-director had seen me in a play like years ago. And then he had me audition for a film he did maybe a year or 2 ago, and I didn't get the part. And this is another thing, like, you're going to audition for something and you're not going to get the part. It doesn't mean you weren't good. It doesn't mean you gave a bad audition. Maybe you just weren't right for that part. Then, like 1 or 2 years later, he comes back. He's like, hey, Sarah, I'd love to offer you this part if you're up for it. So this was a connection I made years ago doing theater. I auditioned. I didn't get the role. Was I a little upset? Sure. It's always upsetting not to get a role, but you just let it go. Like, you can't dwell on it. and you don't, you're still like nice and polite and you don't let it affect you. And then, what happens? You get an even bigger, better part and something else. So it always comes around. So, it's hard to face rejection day in and day out. You never know where your next job is coming from.
So true. That's such good advice, not only for acting, but just for life in general. Just like
Yeah,
go with the
exactly.
flow, try your best and see
Like,
where life takes
yeah, it's like life is too short to harbor negative energy, negative feelings. Just let it go. Yeah.
you. 100%. 100%. Now, what about you? Will you ever write something, direct something? Is that in your wheelhouse?
I would love to. I think I want to get past this like baby toddler stage, and then I would love to like get into writing and directing. Yeah.
Any ideas at this point? Or I would imagine something dark and twisted.
No, I was thinking the other day or yesterday, I was like, because the whole world is like getting back to normal now. And I was like, what
Hopefully.
if there was, yeah, hopefully. We'll see. Like, what if there was a short film about someone who just wants to stay in quarantine mode? Like they're like in their apartment or house and they don't leave and they're acting like it's still 2020, but then the rest of the world is like moving on. Like, what is that story about? So that was just like, I'll have these little like sparks of ideas. But then I need to like, flesh it out and
Exactly.
figure
That's the
out.
first step is just the spark. And then it's time just
Yeah,
refining, building. But
totally.
I'm sure you can do it. I'd love to check out your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Sarah. We really appreciate your time. And yeah, we'll be in touch. Thank you again.
Tom, thanks so much for having me.